Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, and welcome to the Susie Homesteader channel. And today we're going to be talking about some homeschooling subjects, and the subject we're going to try and address today is setting goals. And that's going to be setting goals for yourself as a teacher and setting goals for your students and your kids. And we'll do two kinds of goals. We're going to do some personal goals that are outside of kind of your school schedule, and then we'll talk about just some of the goals you want to have within your homeschooling day or year. So a few things to talk about, and I'll have a couple of sheets for you that I typed up that I'll have on my website, Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, for you, and just kind of like some resolutions sheets for you guys to use that you can print out. So anyway, one of the first things we'll talk about is that when you're setting your goals, of course, the easiest and the best way to start that is in the beginning of your school year. Personally, I try and do this in the beginning of the year, which starts in January, for our personal goals, which, is usually the time of year that a lot of people set their resolutions lists up. But you may want to do this when you actually start your school year. So for every homeschool mom, sometimes that school year starts at different times. If it's similar to the public school system schedule, then that's usually like around August, September. So if you're going to start your goal list for your students, whenever your school year begins is a good time to do that. And then maybe if you want to do a second one in January instead of March, like I'm doing, that's another good time of year to get maybe a second list going just to keep the kids motivated. So what I'll do is I'll show you three different sheets that I came up with, mostly for personal goals. And what they are is we have three sheets. One is going to be for the grown-ups, or you as a teacher if you want to use it that way. And then we'll have another one just for teens, because their goals are generally a lot different than an adult or a child. And then you'll have like a third list depending on the age group of your kids. And that goal list or resolutions sheet is going to be for your youngsters or your younger kids. So they're a little different depending on the age group. And these few lists that I came up with for more so for your personal goals, which is just as important as your educational goals, has a couple things on here, like I said, that you can print off. When you get to the website, I'll have this for you. But just to give you an example, of course, you're going to have their name on each sheet and for what year it is. And then what I did is I came up with about a dozen different goals for, the adults. And let's see, I have 12 on there for the teens and 12 goals on there for the little kids. Anyway, so here's a couple ideas for you. And, you can go on Pinterest and just, Google resolution sheets that you can print out. But I kind of composed my own because I thought these were a little bit more important on a bigger scale than some of the other goal sheets that you'll see on the internet. But anyway, number one, the first one I have on here is number one, the number one thing you'd like to create. Number one is what you'd like to create for that year. So number one, I'd like to create something. Okay, number two, I'd like to cook whatever it is you want to put in that line. Number three, and this is a little bit more designed for girls or women, how I'd like to pamper myself this year. Number four, I'd like to have a blank party or event. Number five, do a blank towards self-reliance. So that could be just doing one particular thing that makes you feel more self-sufficient. Let's see, what do we have here? Number six, learn how to, whatever it is you think of. So it could be on an educational level, or it could just be in general, something you'd like to learn how to do that year. Number seven, in my case, it's going to be build a whatever, because I like to build something every year. Number eight, grow or raise a blank. That could be a flower, that could be a pig. So, could be gardening, could be animal. But that's kind of a big, blank to fill. Number 10, show kindness to something, someone within the year. And number 11, spend more time with my blank. So I don't know if that's going to be your mother or your child or whatever, maybe even your dog. Number 12, give to my world by something. That could be recycling, that could be charity, that could be helping out at the food bank, just some way to contribute towards society, which, in my opinion, if you do that as an adult, it's a great example to show your kids how to contribute in case they can't come up with something. So there you go. That's your sheet for grown-ups. And like I said, I'll have this on my website for you. But, the one for teenagers is pretty similar. You can kind of change this up a little bit if you're gearing this more towards a boy as opposed to a girl. Pretty much the same list. And then for youngsters, it's kind of the same deal. So, like I said, in my opinion, these are some more important subjects to kind of personalize throughout the year. But on a teacher level, you also want to kind of have your own list of things that you want to accomplish with each student. So it's kind of nice if you can kind of get out your notebook or your planner and decide what kind of goals you have per child for that year. And then another goal that you kind of want to do is what subjects in particular you want to cover with that child for the year. And then also just personal interests that that individual child may have that the other kids don't have per year. So I kind of try and like to individualize how those kids learn and what they want to learn per year. And that's kind of a great way to start getting into scheduling how you're going to incorporate those things into the year. So lots of ways to set up goals, but it's just the same way you'd set up goals for yourself is the same way you're going to set goals for your kids and your students. And it's just going to be on a little smaller scale and maybe not so overwhelming for them for the year. Something else you might want to have them do is check off, maybe make like a little checklist of their goals as they accomplish them. And don't create a situation where they're going to be disappointed if they can't check off everything that year. There's nothing worse than creating a list of goals for them or for yourself that is too large, because if it's unrealistic and you can't get through those every single one for the year, somehow, some way, somebody's going to feel disappointed. So don't ever make the kids or yourself feel disappointed that you did not get through that list. So if they don't check off everything on the list for that year, have them roll it over into the next year's resolution list. So just don't set them up for failure by, getting upset or disappointed with them if they can't accomplish all those goals every year. And just don't make the list too big for them. And then another thing that is super important that I do with my kids in setting goals is just actually sitting down and asking them what they're interested in and what is maybe just one of the super important things to them personally or educationally that they would like to accomplish. So even if they have a list or they don't like lists, just pick out one thing, one super important thing to them that they want to accomplish if a list seems a little too overwhelming, especially for little kids. So as they get older, those lists can get larger, and they tend to be better at checking those things off as they get older. But, it could just be one thing for a little kid that they want to get accomplished at school and personally just for that year. And another thing I like to do, which I talked about in my video on how to schedule your kids and time management, was getting them all their own personal planner. I have mine. I can't live without it. Mine's huge, but if you get a nice little tiny one, a small one for the kids individually, where they can start actually planning, for the year themselves. And, what happens with that is they start to create some more of their own goals as they're kind of planning that out month by month. So besides the master list that you kind of want to stick to, it's nice for them to be able to add to that list. if they change their mind or if they come up with new things. So if you can get them a personal planner to go with kind of your master list for the year, that helps out a lot. And they do change their plans and their goals throughout the year. So that's kind of a nice thing to have. And then, again, just watch my other two videos that I did on time management and how to set up your homeschool. Because a lot of getting those goals accomplished is going to have to do with being organized and having schedules and being disciplined throughout the year, because it's very hard to get those goals accomplished if some of those things don't go with it. So hopefully that gives you some good ideas for getting your kids on the right track for the year. And again, I'll have some more great videos for you on homeschooling that will start talking about curriculums and some other things that come up through the year. So if you have any questions, come and see me on my website, Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, and I'll have these lists and more for you available. So we'll see you there. Bye-bye. So let's get started. Subscribe to the Susie Homesteader channel, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.